This Michigan sign stealing scandal that broke over the weekend. ESPN, as usual, has the lead on this one, with Michigan in real trouble now. A notice of allegations will shortly be delivered to, I don't know, our friends in Ann Arbor. That will detail what the NCAA has uncovered in the sign stealing operation that involved Connor Stallions. And now we know, according to reports, it involved the coaching staff at Michigan, including now Michigan head football coach, then offensive coordinator Sherrone Moore, who I would remind you, and I think this is a critical detail that a lot of people have overlooked at this point. If Sherrone Moore is indeed implicated to the point that ESPN is reporting, he is, first of all, a repeat offender. He admitted to what violations he committed during the COVID dark period. You remember where, hey, Monty, it was just cheeseburgers in a chat. Well, it turned out it was a fuck of a lot more than that. And Sherrone Moore admitted to that. And now, according to ESPN reporting, Sherrone Moore was caught red-handed deleting hundreds of text messages that involved Connor Stallions, which were later recovered and turned over to the NCAA. Sherrone Moore's in trouble here. These are level 2 violations that involve Connor Stallions stealing signs with a significant operation that included human beings in other stadiums across the country, we now know at this point, videotaping sidelines, like, you know the details of it. Now it's not in question anymore. And I think you're looking at, again, this is reporting from ESPN. If it is, in fact, it turns out to be true, these reports, I think this is incredibly damaging. I think these are very serious allegations. I think Sherrone Moore is looking at a significant suspension. I think he is looking at a show cause order. I don't know what the penalty will be. I think, as we now know, what happens with things like the death penalty, that doesn't exist at the NCAA level anymore. What was even handed down to USC does no longer exist at the NCAA level any longer. And I think one of the biggest questions here also, with how serious these allegations are, with the depth of evidence that now exists in this sign stealing operation, I don't think there's any question the integrity, the ethics of the game on the field have been compromised by Michigan here. But I don't believe that the death penalty is on the table. And Jake, I don't think we're going to be looking at vacated national championships.
No, I just think we're in a different time now. I mean, I think the NCAA has moved on from that from a disciplinary standpoint, but I do think that this is an unprecedented situation. I don't think that the NCAA has ever, been in a position where the integrity of the game, was more at risk than it was during this situation. And, the article by ESPN, essentially outlines that this was what we thought it was. This was Michigan, running a scheme that was program wide. This was Michigan, getting an advantage. And I think the biggest question that everyone seems to be asking still is how Stalions got a pass to get on the sideline, because in the tweets that I saw and obviously in the article, nobody seems to understand how that took place. But we do seem to understand, just the lengths that the Michigan football program went to run this operation. I mean, you're talking about everything from, like he said, the coaching staff being, intimately involved to, Stalions involving a bunch of interns and staffers that were under him, and going to the point where, in the article, it basically explains that Stalions, tricked people or coerced people into thinking that, hey, this isn't against the rules. What I'm asking you to do actually is legal. It's just not done a lot. And so this was not something like, this wasn't like a one-off thing or like a small little thing. Like, this was a sign stealing operation, and it is an integrity of the game issue. And that's why, when this first came out and we first talked about it, my biggest point here was, hey, the NCAA has to take a stance on this, because if you don't, you're saying, hey, we're going to go light on this type of stuff, and the integrity of the game is your entire business model, which is why I don't think you can go light on this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the NCAA doesn't have the balls to do it. I think they obviously, with the changes we've seen in college football and the ever-changing landscape of the professional college football world, I don't think the NCAA won, even if they did have the, I don't know, the juice, the power. Yeah, I mean, you're not vacating a national championship. Is that justified? I mean, we can sit here and debate. Is it justified to take that away? They beat teams head up. If you had your signs stolen by Michigan in the college football playoff, you didn't deserve to win the game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is some of that. I also see the case that Michigan does not deserve to be in the national championship picture. I think we knew in October, and I think most people knew 2 years ago, that Jim Harbaugh had been engaged in something of this fashion. I just think they're not going to do it. They don't have the ability. The death penalty no longer exists. I saw people all weekend long tweeting about how this should be SMU and USC. They don't do that stuff anymore. What I think you're going to see is Sherrone Moore is going to take a significant suspension. Jim Harbaugh will never be allowed to coach college football again. But they're not going to vacate wins or national championships. And I know most people want that blood. That's not coming.
Well, yeah, and I think they, the more impactful punishment is punishing them moving forward. It's we've seen it before where, hey, we're going to take away this national championship, and we're essentially not going to hurt you in recruiting moving forward, or hurt you in scholarships moving forward, or any of the different ways that the NCAA can punish a program. And so I just think that the whole vacate the national championship thing is just college football fans going after the easy button, like, oh, they cheated, let's take away the national championship, when it really should be is, it should be exactly what you're saying. It should be Sherrone Moore getting suspended. It should be you losing scholarship allocations. It should be, any of that.
Multiple seasons of a postseason ban.
Yeah.
You need to cripple Michigan financially. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I think if you look at where Michigan is already in a world of hurt athletically. I mean, your two major revenue generating sports, college basketball at Michigan, men's basketball is a disaster. I think you look at where Michigan is from a talent perspective, a recruiting perspective, they've struggled. They've lost an enormous amount of talent across the coaching staff, an enormous amount of talent across their roster. I think you are going to see now, when this notice of allegation comes out, I think we've seen this historically, your recruiting immediately suffers, because those kids and their parents recognize that you're not going to be able to compete at the highest level. And I think that's where it starts. I think you're also going to see a significant reduction in their ability to operate as a football program. And that's scholarships, recruiting activities. That is obviously access to postseason. I do believe you are seeing a minimum. Michigan will not compete in the postseason as a punishment. So when that comes down, who knows? It could be 2096 by the time the NCAA actually acts. But I think you're looking at a situation where they're looking at, I mean, at least 2 seasons. That is absolutely debilitating. To tell a football program on the scale of Michigan, you're not allowed to go to a postseason game for 2 full years, dude, you're not going to be able to recruit. You're not going to be able to, your ad dollars, your distributions, and on top of that, you're not getting basketball shares because you didn't go to the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the financial implications for Michigan are already enormous. So the idea that the only way to punish them is to retract their national championship, I think that's far-fetched. The NCAA is not going to do that, in my opinion.
Well, and I think the hard part for just college football in the bigger picture is this is Michigan we're talking about. I mean, this is a premier brand. This is a brand that obviously is one of the biggest brands we have in college football, and I think that's what's difficult about the situation. I don't think anybody wants to be having this conversation about Michigan. In fact, I think what we want to be talking about is, hey, let's get the best version of Michigan and the best version of Ohio State together again, and let's play that game again. Like let's keep doing that every year because that's what's great for the game. And so it's hard to sit here and be like, yeah, they did all this stuff, and it means that the Big Ten is going to probably be looking at losing one of its highest program or highest value football programs for several seasons in the playoff, and that's rough, man. Nobody wants that.
Well, and Pete Thamel and Dan Murphy from ESPN obtained a copy of this notice of allegations. I mean, this is real. This is severe. I think Sherrone Moore is probably going to take a minimum of a 6-game suspension once this penalty is handed down.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume afterward he would have a show cause notice, which as a head coach currently employed, that doesn't mean a whole lot. I think Jim Harbaugh probably gets a 10-year show cause order, which at his age ends his college football career. And for a guy that burns through jobs pretty quickly, Jim Harbaugh, that's a big penalty. I think the bigger question here is, what do you make of Central Michigan? I don't know how you give Central Michigan a free pass. That's going to be tough because you'll remember that Central Michigan is at the heart of this because Connor Stallions was seen in disguise on the Central Michigan sideline. And you guys remember the infamous recording sunglasses and dressed up in Central Michigan coaching garb. I mean, very clearly, they knew at Central Michigan that this was Connor Stallions. There's no way now to even spin the fact that the enormity and the depths of dishonesty from Jim Harbaugh saying that he had no knowledge to Sherrone Moore, to the coaching staff denying this. Well, now we know that the coaching staff deleted text messages. Jim McElwain, in what now is a comical, statement during a press conference, denies that Connor Stallions was there or that he knew Connor Stallions.
Before we go any farther, we've obviously are aware of a picture floating around with the sign stealer guy. Our people are doing everything they can to get to the bottom of it. We're totally unaware of it.
Anybody know where Jim McElwain coached before he went to Central Michigan? Anybody know who was on staff as a coach while Connor Stallions was at Michigan? It was Jim McElwain. Jim McElwain knows Connor Stallions. Jim McElwain, I believe, in my opinion, was well aware that was Connor Stallions on his sideline. You don't get coaching gear. You're telling me that there's a guy on your sideline who works for Michigan football. According to the NCAA notice of allegations reported by ESPN, you're telling me that a member of the Michigan football department is dressed in your coaching gear on your sideline, allegedly wearing recording sunglasses at night, and you didn't know about it? Well, you know what I'm going to say. Well, that's your fault. That's an NCAA violation. You did know about it. Well, you should be fired. You didn't know about it. You should probably be fired. I mean, Jim McElwain is not the biggest name in this scandal, but Jim McElwain is complicit because he facilitated, in my opinion, the ability of Connor Stallions to steal signs from Michigan State.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think that whole, the whole CMU situation in the whole role they played. It is. I do think without Central Michigan, Connor Stallions isn't able to do what he did. I mean, you're talking about a guy getting sideline access. Like if you think about it and we zoom out, like you've heard, hey, they've got people at stadiums, like they're sitting in the crowd. Like it's one thing to go into the stadium and buy the ticket and do that. Like I feel like that's one level of it. But then to be on someone else's sideline in their gear, trying to get like a close-up look and trying to, get intimate with the play calls and see what's, Michigan State or any other team is doing, from that standpoint, it's another level
to allow Connor Stallions to be on your sideline and record Michigan State's signals. That's ridiculous. You're first of all, you're Central Michigan. You're helping Michigan. Well, of course you are, because Jim McElwain, the head coach at Central Michigan, is friends with the staff at Michigan. He knows Connor Stallions. I mean, it's no longer possible to say that this wasn't a in-depth, supported football activity from the Michigan football department. This was their operation.
Yeah.
This wasn't Connor Stallions, who's just some nice, unassuming vacuum salesman. Going out and, trying to help Michigan win a game. He's on the sideline at Central Michigan filming, allegedly, those glasses.
Yeah.
Filming Michigan State's sideline.
You're not getting away with this, dude. You're not. You're not
in disguise.
Dude, you're not going to get people to believe that Michigan's staff had no idea that Connor was there, or that certainly Central Michigan staff had no idea that Connor was there. And the other part of this too is like, if you go and read the whole article, it talks all about how Connor, is somebody who, as we know, was willing to do anything to help Michigan win. And as part of that, hey, I'm willing to do anything to help the team win mentality, you've got everything from, again, convincing people this wasn't illegal, to, destroying video that you had taken, telling a staffer to, take these ticketing records, like the receipts of the tickets we bought, and put them in this storage space so nobody would find it, and I'll come back and get it later. Like, you have all these things that this guy did. And so if you're somebody today in our comments section, who's a Michigan fan and defending Michigan and saying that, oh, Connor was a lone wolf, because I saw that all over Twitter all weekend. Oh, dude, this guy was a lone wolf. That's the term, lone wolf.
Ferris Khan, our noted, now I think San Diegan, says, what does CMU subcontracting Stallions to help them have? You really believe that he was there to help Central Michigan?
Come on, bro.
You really believe he was there to help Central Michigan, even though he was not signaling or communicating with coaches while he was on that sideline? He was simply allegedly wearing recording sunglasses, Ray-Bans that record video, standing away from the Central Michigan coaches and not interacting with them. And you think he was there working for Central Michigan? Come on, guy.
Well, and the funny thing is in the pictures, it totally goes against what you're saying. In the pictures, it's very clear. He doesn't have a headset on. No. He's just kind of standing there. And to your point, like, he's not in the action. He's like kind of just trying to blend. Look at
him in the background.
Look at this. Look at the guy. Look at the guys all around him. Headsets and clipboards, and look at that.
He's not interacting with them. What are you talking about?
Come on,
and
dude.
this is the thing that I don't understand. This is where I struggle. What else? Did you say anything else that's really fucking stupid? Of course you did. They could not find anything, so they didn't find that Sherrone Moore, now a repeat offender, allegedly deleted text messages and then admitted to deleting text messages and later turning those text messages over voluntarily. No, that's not. Stallions was a lone wolf.
And what does that behavior suggest? This is the other thing.
What are you talking about?
That very behavior. Hey, I'm gonna delete stuff and fight and fight and fight. And then once Jim moves on and we're done with the year and we've won our national championship, then I'm gonna turn everything over and I'm gonna cooperate because now we've got our natty. So now I'm gonna fall on the sword, and it's cool to suck for 3 or 4 years because we're gonna get punished and we're gonna be, basically debilitated. Come on, dude. Come on, man.
Let me pull a few more gems. Ferris Khan also says the level ones outside of Stallion are a failure to cooperate. No, they're not. We don't know. The Harbaugh stuff is not a failure to cooperate. It's being dishonest and failing to cooperate. Right? So let's get that very clear. The Sherrone Moore stuff, we don't know the ones we know about. Sherrone only getting a level 2 is the other comical thing. Like level 2 doesn't mean anything. They're only level 2.
You understand the institution itself. Like, I'm not sure, Ferris, to be honest with you, that you read the article, because in the article it explains that Michigan, the institution itself, the school, is guilty of violations because of how many people knew about this, man.
Do we not give do we not care about Michigan's reputation? Do we not care about the integrity and the ethics of the University of Michigan? Because as we reported on this show and has now been picked up nationally in, I think, November, we reported there is a severe split at that university about the depths and the financial depths that Michigan went to cover this up and defend Jim Harbaugh. And you're telling me with your, not for actually doing anything. So they did nothing wrong. I come here for Kamala talk and then I have to defend Michigan. Like, are you crazy that this is what I don't understand about Michigan fan. You just don't care. You just don't care that Michigan cheated their way to a national championship. You can now, with this notice of allegations, there's no longer a way to say that you won this national championship fair and square.
Yeah.
You understand that. Sherrone Moore has admitted he deleted 52 text messages between he and Connor Stallions. The head coach at Michigan deleted 52 text messages between himself and Connor Stallions. Why would he delete those messages? And then later turn them over, which led to a notice of allegations that includes, according to ESPN, who's got a copy of this notice of allegations, that led to concrete evidence of him being on the Central Michigan sideline, that led to more evidence of him and the depth and the knowledge the coaching staff had of this sign stealing operation. I get it. They're your club. But at no point can you sit here and say they did not have a football department wide, and I think athletic department wide, sign stealing operation to benefit Jim Harbaugh and the football team?
Yeah.
Let's
because that's where it all started.
Let's be men and just have an open and honest conversation about the depths of the cheating at Michigan. And this doesn't even include the fact that you already had Sherrone Moore involved in the COVID dark period recruiting violations that now he's admitted to. So you can't say those were nothing because he's already admitted to it. And as far as the bullshit, there's nothing here. Then why did he admit to it? Why is he cooperating? If there's nothing here, that there very clearly is something here. You stole signs, and as a result, you won a national championship. And I'm all for the conjecture and whatever it takes. Just be honest about it. Like, I can't stand just turning a blind eye. We're like this. We're going to talk about NFL and injuries, and we tend to whitewash the worst of ourselves so that we feel better and we can sleep at night. The truth is, Michigan is an unethical, unsuccessful, corrupt athletic department that has facilitated lying and cheating and an absolute just trashing of ethics at one of the finest academic institutions in this country.
That is what you should be upset about if you're a Michigan fan.
And yet, because they won some football games, we don't care. And Jim Harbaugh's a legend. And it's why Joe Paterno has statues at Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. If you're going to turn a blind eye to this, I don't want to hear about Jim Tressel. I don't want to hear about tattoos at thee. I don't want to hear about any of that. I don't want to hear about all of your, oh, well, it was, Ryan Day's brother. Fuck off. No, it wasn't. It was Jim Harbaugh and his football staff, in my opinion, and based on this notice of allegations at ESPN, concocting an operation to steal signs because they couldn't beat Ohio State.
And that's where this all started.
So, I just lose my patience for lying, filthy Michigan fan who comes in here and wants to talk about what a great, strong institution Michigan is. And Jim Harbaugh is a good man. He's not. Jim Harbaugh is a lying, unethical, cheating fuck who, in my opinion, should never be a head football coach in the NFL or at the college level again.
Cheating, lying, and then playing the victim.
And I have covered Jim Harbaugh in San Francisco. I have seen what Jim Harbaugh has done to locker rooms. Jim Harbaugh is not the guy you want coaching your football team. Yet Michigan is selling its soul. And Michigan fans like Ferris Khan want to come into the comments section and, oh, God, Jimmy's such a good guy. And he's a victim. No, he's not a victim. Jim Harbaugh couldn't, let's just be very clear. Jim Harbaugh couldn't win a big game. Jim Harbaugh couldn't beat Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh couldn't win the Big Ten championship. Jim Harbaugh couldn't go to the college football playoff. Jim Harbaugh couldn't win the biggest games. And then all of a sudden, Connor Stallions puts on some sunglasses, transforms himself into a Central Michigan coach, and they win a national championship.
Fine Steeler guy.
Jim Harbaugh, he's just so innocent.
What a great man. Just really a maker of men.
I'm going to say that he's not innocent. I'm going to say that Sherrone Moore deserves, in my opinion, at least a season-long suspension.
And by the way, just me being me, I hope that J.J. McCarthy has a damn fine year this year. Because if you come out and you play terrible in the NFL and you look completely incompetent in the NFL, but you're this amazing national championship winning quarterback at Michigan, that's not going to be a great look, JJ. Just want to put that out there, bro.
And the sad thing is, you had the most talented roster in the country, and you just weren't good enough in the coaching staff. You weren't good enough. You were not developed enough. You were not capable of beating a mediocre Ryan Day, who had a mediocre quarterback. You weren't capable of beating him. So all of the Urban Meyer stuff, all of the Jim Tressel, Terrell Pryor tattoos and autograph stuff, that all goes out the window because now you're no better than Ohio State in any of those situations. You're liars. You're cheaters. You lack morals and ethics. And you just don't care because you won. And now that it's been proven through this notice of allegations that ESPN is reporting on, that you facilitated the largest cheating scandal involving on the field play that I think we've ever seen, you have no defense for it. And if you come in here and you defend Jim Harbaugh and you defend Michigan, you're embarrassing yourself. It tells me who you are morally. It tells me who you are ethically. And frankly, I'm laughing at you. It's guys like Ferris who will come in here. Jim Harbaugh could literally murder somebody and you would defend him.
Facts.
Jim Harbaugh could commit the most heinous crimes and you would defend him. Never mind what it did to Michigan as an institution. Never mind that you embarrassed yourself and compromised your institution by going to court to defend this guy. Never mind any of that. You want to sit here post haste now and say that he did nothing wrong. Even though you've admitted and he's admitted the COVID period violations. Michigan's admitted it. Sherrone Moore has admitted it. Yet it's wild to me.
Why not just say,
it's wild to me.
Hey, yeah, we did it. We pulled a fast one on everybody, and we won a national championship. And now there's a price to pay for that, and we're cool with that. Like, just own it. It's fine. Like, I think that's the worst part about it for basically everybody involved in this thing, because you're never going to hear, like, I would be shocked if there was ever, a statement put out or anything by guys like Jim, certainly, or Sherrone, or any of the players, obviously. Like, I don't think you'll hear from any of these dudes. I think that the process will play out. They will get disciplined at Michigan, and everybody who was able to jump off the ship after burning the house down to go to the NFL is just going to continue doing what they're doing. And that, to me, is what the NCAA has got to work on. Like when all this Super League stuff happens and, we get all this new disciplinary stuff around that. Like, I really hope that there's a better process for this stuff. Cause that to me is the bigger issue as far as the game is concerned. Like, your disciplinary setup with the NCAA is so slow in plotting that people can do this stuff and then they can leave and not think twice about it. That's the hard part.
I think the NCAA is largely toothless. Which is unfortunate. I am a believer that if you didn't take action in October and November to the point where you took Michigan out of the postseason, which you should have done, you're not going to go back. And we know they don't vacate wins anymore. We know they don't take national championships or hand out death penalties. But it's wild to me that people will compromise their integrity and their ethics to defend Jim Harbaugh. I've never understood it. My opinion of Jim Harbaugh is based on time I've spent covering him and watching him as a professional. He has never changed. He'll be coaching the team that should still be in San Diego, I would guess, for 3 years. And maybe this if he truly does get a 10-year show cause, maybe that changes his tune and he does what he needs to do to stay in the NFL a little longer. But old dogs don't learn new tricks.
No.
Jim Harbaugh is not somebody that I want coaching my football team. And I think it is wild that Michigan fans still defend him. Jim Harbaugh cheated, and he's gotten caught multiple times. Sherrone Moore cheated and has gotten caught multiple times.
Like, you're not good at cheating. Do you understand that? But
the problem is you're not good at not cheating. You don't win football games unless you steal signs, unless you buy them. Hey, Monty, it was just cheeseburgers during a COVID dark period. Kids got to eat, bro. Turns out it was a lot more than that.
See, and why do we do that? Why do we do that with these guys? Like, I'm sitting here thinking about this, and did we not have this same type of behavior with the Mike Gundy, Ollie Gordon situation? Oh, Mike was just, Mike was doing this and doing that. He hasn't done it thousands of times. He was just speculating. Like, it's the same type of thing. We just want to minimize everything, dude. It's the Michigan State, head coach FaceTiming a woman who didn't want it. It's the Penn State stuff. Like, that we've seen. It's the Northwestern stuff. We've seen it time and time again.
And you were the most talented team in the country.
And you wasted it.
You can recruit. You just can't coach. That's the sad thing that Michigan fan will never admit. You couldn't win a game of consequence before you stole signs. And then all of a sudden you just turned into an unbeatable team. Come on. If it were me disciplining Michigan, I would have taken them out of the postseason last year.
Mm-hmm.
Because with this notice of allegations, we now know what they did. We knew what the Big Ten had. We broke that story on this show. So we knew what they had. You knew it was Connor Stallions on the sideline. I mean, what are we even talking about here?
And we still haven't gotten
My
to
God.
the computer crimes committed. So